Andrew, how's it going, sir?
Hey, Steve. Very well indeed. How are you?
I am okay. There's a lot of changes happening, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about your company, and client discovery.
I think we started off by saying there's a lot of change is happening. And I think that is the crux of all things that we as MSPs need to understand. So I still own an MSP business, and I've done so for almost 30 years. And one of the things that I've noticed is change is happening, and it's happening faster than it's ever happened before. So when you say there's a lot of change going on, I think that's a truism. Years ago when we were installing networks, they were Novell, became NT. We were doing a lot of small business server for a long time. Now we've migrated all our clients into the cloud, and our clients are using more IT than they've ever used before. The face of the IT that we support as an MSP has always changed over the last 30 years, and it's changing now more than ever before. And our opportunity is to figure out what that looks like and to make sure that we can be relevant to our customers' changing needs.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm sure you and I could probably go on rants about Chat GBT and Mid Journey and all these artificial intelligence tools that are becoming available. But we don't have time for that either. As,
We're going to talk about our clients, Steve. As MSPs, we're service providers, and that's the S, right? In MSP service, and our job is to talk about the service that our customers need and make sure that we're doing a great job for them.
I agree. So let's talk about that. We, like you said, you want to do a great job for your clients. So I want to kind of discover from you how you are extracting all of that information from them, so that way at the end of the day you know exactly what they're trying to accomplish and how you need to proceed in order to make that possible for them.
That's right. First thing you do is you got to understand your client. So as I say, I've been doing this for a long time, and in that time, my business has grown from me to me plus one person, two, three, and you hire your first salesperson, hope that they're going to duplicate you. They don't. They're a bit different to you. Maybe get that wrong a couple of times, get a salesperson on board that works, and then slowly build out a team. The trick I've learned all the time is to understand what's important to your clients and make sure that you're delivering to that. And what's important to our clients isn't the same as what's important to us, and it's not the same from client to client. So the trick is to ask them. And quite often an MSP owner instinctively does that quite well, but they struggle to push that out beyond themselves. So what we've decided to do is to systemize the process of discovering what our clients care about so that we can orient our services to deliver that, and that we can orient our services to deliver that in a context that the customer understands. And what I mean by that is if the customer uses certain language to describe various things, we should use their language, not ours. We should come to them and talk about things in their terms, not in our terms. And the only way you can do that is to ask them. So getKambium is a structured way of asking them that and making sure that not just the person who asked the question knows the answer, but that can be shared with all of your team so that they can all talk to the customer about the stuff the customer cares about. And if you know that, and you know what they want to achieve, then you can start to talk to them about projects that are relevant to their needs that they're going to have to sign up for because they're solving the customer's problems.
All right, so let's talk about, maybe you can give us an example of something that you worked on in the past where you went and sat down with one of your customers, and maybe this was we'll call it a QBR, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you sat down with the decision makers and other key contacts within the business, and you just had a meeting and said, hey, let's figure out what your goals are so we can align our goals with yours and make a plan together so that we're not trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
I think that's so. First of all, we do an annual strategic workshop with a client, and you can do it annually, biannually, whatever the cycle is that works for you. And you can also break it down and say, let's do a security workshop, let's do a business analytics workshop, let's do a data governance workshop. I mean, there's a variety of different ways you can cut and slice that. But ultimately, you do need to sit down with a customer and ask them questions. And what we found when we were doing it in our MSP is that on a good day, you do a great job. But not every day is a good day. Some days there's stuff that's on your mind. Some days the kids have acted up, the traffic's been terrible, there's challenges going on in the office, and you're not quite on your game. And of course, the way you deal with that is by being prepared. So getKambium allows a MSP to go and sit in front of a customer and engage with them in a consistent, high quality, repeatable manner to ask them open questions to find out what's going on. And what they care about, and to record those in such a way the MSP can then come back to their office and recommend solutions to the things the customer said that are important, using the MSP's experience, maybe things they've done before. If you can do that reasonably quickly, which is what getKambium allows you to do, you've now got a roadmap for your client. And that roadmap for the client is then something you work to during the year, and in your QBRs, you check in with the customer and you say, hey, Mr. Customer, you said this was important, that was important. So now it's the time for us to get on with that piece of work to do it. Will you approve us? Will you approve this proposal so that we can get on with the project to solve the need that you've identified? One of the challenges we know in MSP land is that we go to sales seminars and we're told by the people running the seminar that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them in that order. And then we spectacularly fail to do so. We go out there and we talk to the customer about IT issues using our language, and they just shut down. They don't care, because we're talking about stuff that's important to us and not to them. So the getKambium discovery is intended to reverse that and help an MSP to ask the customer the questions and record the answers to find out what the customer cares about, and have the customer opening up and talking to you. You then come back to the office and use your template of the library of recommendations that you've used before, which say to the customer, because you told us that you want to reduce the cost of service of these customers over there, we recommend automating this process. Because you've said you want to mitigate this risk over here, you're concerned about the rising cost of cyber insurance, for example, we recommend our silver security package, or we recommend our gold security package. getKambium is a way of saying, here's the customer, because the customer has this pain point, we recommend that. And the pain point might be that they want to open up a new office, relocate a factory, expand a factory, open a call center, bring a new product to market, digitize a service, all of these things. We can only find it out if we ask them. Steve, in the length of time I've been doing IT, I have noticed significant change. And over the last several years, 5 years, I guess, maybe more, we've been migrating the servers and the equipment that we used to service up into the cloud, and not just into IaaS solutions, but up into SaaS solutions. And so the work we used to do replacing servers when they got out of warranty and upgrading versions of Exchange and everything else has gone. Today, the customer is more reliant on cloud-based products. They've got more of them than ever before. They need help with those. And if we're the customer's trusted IT advisor as the MSP, then we've got to understand what they're trying to achieve and make sure they're making good choices. That's the opportunity for MSPs. It's a massive opportunity. All we need to know is what's important to the customer, and therefore what we need to do about it.
All right. So let's say a client says, we want to open up a new office, and I'll just say in Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
So what are you then going to, I'm sure you have follow-up questions, right?
So if we go out and see a client and we do a discovery, say to the client, here's our annual discovery. There's two scenarios where you might do that normally. The first scenario is an existing client and you're doing an annual strategic review. And every MSP should do strategic reviews with all of their clients. Even if you think you know the client really well, they've got staff changes, they do an annual plan, they sit there and go, this year we want to achieve this, that, and the other. The other one is when you go out to meet a new customer for the first time. And normally you go and meet a new prospect for the first time. You go and you look around, you go, okay, I can see you've got this server, you're using 365 over there, you're using this financial system, you've got however much wireless and devices. We quote so much to look after your IT per month. In both cases, if you went in instead and said, let's sit down and understand your business goals for the year, and then I'm going to come back and write you a plan to achieve those with IT, because all of those goals require IT, then the customers are going to say, you know what, you're not just a supplier, you're now a partner. And we want our customers to see us in the same way that they see their accountant and their lawyer, as a professional advisor, not as a bunch of technicians. We want them to see us as a trusted advisor, helping them do what's important to them. So in the scenario that we've gone out to see a client and they said, you know what, this year we're going to open up a new a warehouse distribution facility in Cleveland, Ohio. Is one of our goals for the year. We want to grow 20%. We want to reduce our cost of service by 5%. So we asked them questions to tease that out. Sometimes we're going to ask them questions they haven't heard of, they haven't considered before, such as, do you know where all your data is? Do you know where your data should be, but do you know where it actually is? And the customers are going to say, you know what, no one's ever asked me that before. That's a really good question. I assume people put the data where it ought to be, in the correct folders and website, drives and so forth. But actually, it's not there. It's on people's hard disks. It's saved into private Dropbox accounts or whatever else. We need to find out if that's important to the customer, and if it's important to the customer, we then say, hey, we recommend addressing this problem by doing this piece of work, which might be a project that requires them to buy some equipment. It might be a project that requires them to buy some tools. It might be a project that requires us to use the tools that we've already got in our wheelhouse to help them to achieve that. So one of those might be outfitting this warehouse in Cleveland. As you say to the customer, so, what's involved in that? Do you know where it's going to be, how big that place is going to be? The customer might have a very good idea. They might have just signed the lease and they might know. So you can say, okay, so you're moving in a 3 months' time, we can do a proposal to accommodate that requirement now. Or they might say, I don't know, it's going to happen later in the year. It's all a bit unclear at this stage, and so you might provide them with a bit more of a rougher estimate and come back to that later. But the key thing is that you know what they plan to do, you know why they're going to do it and when. So you've now got a qualified opportunity. And what we do with that in our roadmap, particularly if you're using ConnectWise, our ConnectWise integration allows you to save that into your CRM system as an opportunity. So you can sit there as running your MSP and look at all your sales opportunities across all your customers and say, I know where my 2023 revenue is coming from because these customers are going to do those projects. And we can add that together and see what your revenue plan looks like, whether that's project revenue or additional contracts that customers are going to buy, why they're going to buy it, when, what they're trying to achieve, so you can make sure that you achieve their goals and yours.
All right. So that's kind of, I'll call it the beginning. What happens next? Because I'm sure that you're doing more than just that simple, what are your goals? I mean, there's got to be more questions than that.
Absolutely. There's a ton more questions than that, 100%. So we sit there with our discovery, we help the MSP to ask them some open questions about their business, and then we go into these specifics, things the customer might not have asked before. You come back to the office, you write your recommendations, you've now got a roadmap, you've saved that into ConnectWise as set of goals. You've got a roadmap for the customer, here's the plan. The customer says, fantastic, and puts it away on the shelf, and you look at it a year later, it's gathered a bit of dust, and none of those things have happened. Well, that's terrible. More important is that we actually achieve the roadmap that we've agreed. And that's as much us holding the customer accountable as them holding us accountable. So our QBRs with the customer need to be, here's the roadmap. In the second quarter, you said you wanted to do these two things, solve these problems. And for us to do those things, I need you to approve that piece of work so we can get on with it. And the customer says, yes, that's fine. That's still important to us. Let's get that project underway. So a QBR has got to be about what the customer cares about, which is their business. And it's got to be how you're delivering to their roadmap. If you're going to a customer and doing a QBR and talking about the tickets and SLAs that you've done and what a great job, you've solved 99% of their problems within an hour of them calling you, and you've reduced their downtime. Customer actually takes that for granted. They assume that you're going to do that no matter what. The opportunity for us is to talk to the customer about how they are achieving their business goals and what we're doing to support them in that. And if you have that conversation, then the customer's going to find that QBR really, really valuable. If you're doing the stuff they expect you to do, eventually they're not going to put time aside to meet with you, because that's actually what they expect. I guess the scenario is that when you turn on the light switch at home, the power works, the light comes on. You don't expect the power company to come around and say, hey, Steve, you've done a great job. Every time you turn the power switch on last year, the light worked. That's not a conversation that's ever going to excite you, because you expect it. But if you sit there and you say, Steve, you said that you wanted to reduce your cost of energy, you wanted to have a more environmentally friendly solution to your power, and here's what we've done to help you achieve that. You're going to say that is something you put time aside for, because you'd be interested in that. So as an MSP, we have to learn to talk to our customers about the things they care about in their language, and we have to make sure that we deliver the roadmap that we agree. The way to do that is to do a discovery to find out what's important to them, firstly, and then secondly, to hold them and you to account through your QBRs, which talk about their business goals and what you're doing to achieve those.
All right. So can you give us, what are some of your favorite open-ended questions that you ask?
Well, I've already outlined one of those just now, which is, do you know where your data is? What your obligation to the stakeholders are for that data, and do you know if it's actually where it's supposed to be? And chances are that there is someone in there, in every customer, who is recording things they ought not to, credit cards, for example, in a spreadsheet on their desktop, which is against your policy and against your stakeholder requirements. So by asking the customer, do you know where your data is? Do you know where your data is supposed to be? Do you know if it actually is there? And do you know what your obligation to a stakeholder is if that data is captured by a ransomware attack, for example? That's a great question, because you can almost always guarantee that the customer doesn't know that.
I would agree with that. And then the real interesting thing would be, every MSP has a different way to do this, right? But there's ways for you to essentially audit the desktop computers, laptops, et cetera, right? And determine, hey, what kind of PII do they have on these machines, and what machines have credit cards and social securities and et cetera, and where is it located on those computers? Is it where it belongs, or is it somewhere else?
So getKambium is about finding out whether the customer cares about that. Then the MSP can bring their technical solution, whichever one they've chosen, bring that to bear to solve the problem. But the first part is to find out whether the customer cares, because if the customer doesn't care about it, then there's no point wasting time on it. If, on the other hand, the customer cares about it a lot, then we need to address it. So you remember, your customer sees you as they've always experienced you. If you're rolling into the customer in a polo shirt, you clamber under desks and move computers around and reset passwords and make the printers work, then the customer only sees that aspect of you. If you turn up to the customer wearing a business shirt and a jacket and you talk to them about business issues, then they start to see you as a business advisor. That also means that you can charge them a little bit more money, because business advisors are, of course, command a higher hourly rate. But the key thing for us to do is to find out what the customer cares about and make sure that those are services that we can offer them. It's pretty simple, really.
And, I got to say that you said something that kind of struck a chord with me. I have found myself guilty of this, where I care about something that maybe my customers don't. I care about if they have PII or HIPAA or whatever type information in places it shouldn't be, or if it's sitting somewhere insecurely. And some of the customers just don't care, or it's not as high of a priority to them as it is to me.
That's right. So you got to ask the why question. Do you have a legal obligation to meet? Do you have regulatory requirements that you have to meet? What happens if you don't achieve that? How important that is to you to do that? And it might be the customer simply hasn't considered it. It might be that the customer has a really laid-back attitude and they haven't really considered the consequences of their choices. A really great example is anything to do with cybersecurity. We know that most of our customers don't understand the need to protect their businesses as much as we do. And the reason for that they don't get it, is because we haven't really done a good enough job of working through the consequences of their decisions with them to help them understand the relative merit of them investing. I mean, every customer's got a choice. They sit there every year doing their budget. Maybe right now they're doing their budgets, and they've got so much money that they can put into various projects. If we want them to use that budget to address the projects that we think are important, then we're going to talk to them about what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are, and make sure that the things that are important to be done are all considered in the right context. And it might be that we simply haven't given them enough information to do that. So again, we've got to ask open questions to find out what they care about. They can't do everything. They can only do the most important thing. And sometimes we don't have that perspective of their business to understand what's important to them until we ask them more questions. So getKambium is a listening tool. getKambium is designed to help an MSP listen to their customer in a structured, repeatable way and turn that into a strategic roadmap for the customer and a revenue plan for the MSP. The QBR aspect of getKambium is designed to make sure the customer engages in a partnership manner with the MSP to keep both the MSP and the customer on track to achieve the goals the customer has said are important, and occasionally to reset those as circumstances change and the customer needs to alter the plan that they've set, which of course happens from time to time.
Got it. Yeah. So I had a question and I lost it. I hate when that happens.
Isn't it frustrating? So you started off the podcast talking about change.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things we've got to understand is that if we keep doing the same old stuff, we will become slightly irrelevant, because if our focus was all on servers a few years ago, it's now on cloud migration. But, the cloud migrations are largely done. What we've now got is customers who are more reliant on cloud and mobile device apps to run their businesses. They've got their customers want to engage with them through more online means quite often. There are tools out there like ChatGTP, as you mentioned, and many others, data analytic tools. I don't know what flavor of the month will be in a year's time, whether it's something around more IoT or something on the edge. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But our job isn't to say to the customer, just because this thing exists, you should use it. Our job is to say to the customer, hey, you're trying to increase your distribution in Ohio, so you're opening up a new warehouse. How can we help you to make that work? How can we help you to make sure that, for example, your delivery trucks are more efficient when they go out there to deliver the goods, so you don't need to have as many delivery trucks? You've got a problem right now retaining staff, for example, because we're in this, this great manpower shortage. So how can we use IT to help you cut down some of your staffing requirements by automating tasks that would otherwise require a person to do? Or how can we make it easier to induct new staff members into your business so that they can get up to speed faster? If we understand the problem that the customer's trying to solve, then we know what we need to do to help them. And if we can do that, then we become really important to our customer and really sticky and really trusted. If, on the other hand, the customer still only sees us as the people who reset passwords and make computers work and replace Windows 10 with Windows 11, then anyone can do that, and our relationship with that customer will always be at risk. If they see us as somebody that truly understands what they're trying to achieve and can help them to do it, then we are going to have a much more high value relationship. We'll be able to charge the customer more because we're delivering them more value, and we'll find that they're referring us to more of their clients. It's really all about building that trust by understanding what they care about. And that's why, as I say, we're a listening tool that helps you as an MSP to listen to the customer and then to play that back to them with services you can provide to be relevant.
So what are you seeing trends happening right now across your MSP clients?
Yeah, so we're seeing two interesting trends. The first is larger MSPs with a sales team of 5 to 25 who are saying, what you do is actually what we do, but we don't do it very structured. We do it with Excel and Word and so forth. And what you do is you lock in the framework so that we can scale that across all our team consistently and share the information, not just with the account reps, but with the senior architects and the rest of the crew. The other one is where an MSP is trying to take on that first account manager, and they know that they need to hire a salesperson to help them grow. They also damn busy. They're on the tools quite often themselves. They're damn busy. They're trying to do everything. And so they hire a person and kind of leave them to it and say, you're a salesperson, get on with it. And of course, that's not going to work. You need to nurture those folk into the role. So the opportunity is to provide that MSP owner with a framework to give to the account manager to allow them to go and ask the right questions, to get the right answers, and to engage in a way that's effective for the MSP and for the client. And quite often those people that are hiring are from outside the industry. So by giving them this leg up, we can make them more efficient from the get-go.
So those are two. I don't know. I think a lot of people are seeing those two trends. I think that's been an issue that MSPs have always had. You hire somebody for sales, and they have no idea how your company works. And I think that goes well beyond MSPs even, right? Especially when it's like maybe your first or second sales hire where you don't have enough documented, and there's
That's
no
right.
training process.
I mean, Steve, a lot of us as MSPs, we're former techs, MSP owners, we're former techs. We worked either for another MSP or for a corporate enterprise role. We've gone out there on our own, and our skill set is, Active Directory and Azure these days and so forth. And running and managing a sales team is quite often something that's new to us. So anything that can help you. I mean, sales resources are expensive people. They are an interesting personality type, and normally quite dynamic people, normally a little bit unstructured, and they're normally quite adventurous. Our opportunity is to try and give them some tools to make them more successful, because that's what we all want. They want to earn their commission. The MSP wants to make sure they're getting return on their investment, and the client wants to make sure that they're actually driving their business forward.
So let me ask you this: with getKambium, I know that you are typically looking for a medium to large sized MSP. You're looking for an MSP that has a sales team in place already. But I think it's safe to say that there are a lot of small MSPs out there. So earlier when I said, what are some of the open-ended questions you ask? I know we talked about the one, but I think some of these small MSPs would love to know, like, man, what are some of the other questions or topics that I should be trying to pull out of these clients? Because ultimately, I think the answer needs to be, it depends on what services the MSP offers. But I think, and I guess I say that because, like, you don't want to ask somebody about their telephony stuff if you don't offer phone service, right? That's what I mean. But
Wrong. I disagree. Let me
okay,
explain why I disagree. It's great. It's a fantastic question, a good debate. So if you can't look at it from your point of view. You've got to look at it from the customer's point of view. You're a customer, and your customer might be a 10-person distribution business, to use the example. It might be a school. It might be a charity. And they are really good at what they do. Education. They're really good at serving out support packages for families, or looking after pets, or whatever that they do. And you're the IT guy. They are relying on you to be their gateway to technology solutions. And your job is to know what those are. Whether you can do that service or not yourself is less important, because you can partner with others. The future for MSPs actually is to have a library of really good people in adjacent sectors that they can both share leads with, both ways. And so if it's the example of telephony, if you don't do telephony, the customer still needs it. They're going to go out there and say, who can help me with this? And if another MSP is able to do that, you might lose the business. You don't want to do that. You want to build that trust relationship. So if instead you say, I will refer you, now they understand that telephony is important to you. It's not something we do ourselves, but let me refer that to you. And a great example is my MSP. We don't do CRM systems, but we helped probably 3 or 4 customers implement CRMs last year when we found out that was what was important to the client. So we went out there and helped them write tender documents using a library that we built out, and we helped them go and find a vendor, and we sat alongside the customer on the customer side of the table to do that work in our MSP business. So we use getKambium to uncover the needs, and away we go. I think the opportunity is to find out what the customer cares about and make sure that you're able to deliver to that. And so it's the aspiration of the MSP. If the MSP wants to be somebody that is a business advisor to their clients, then getKambium is designed to help them to achieve that. If they want to continue to be a deeply technical person who just does technical solutions, then they're going to need to have someone else being an intermediary to help them work between the customer's business requirement and what they do. getKambium is for folk that want to be that business advisor.
So, as you grew your MSP, did you find that you were asking different questions as you continued to grow?
Absolutely right. So you asked what some of the questions are. I mentioned the data one before, but if we think about the sorts of things that customers are interested in, we know that they're going to be data analytics. Do you use data to understand trends in your business? Do you use data to understand future trends so that you can be buying retail, for example, is buying next Christmas's stock right now, because they're going to get it ordered and into their warehouses and ready for Christmas 2023. They're making those orders now. How can they make good decisions? They could use data from last Christmas and extrapolate that from the year before, as a for example. So we want to ask them, is data important to you? Now you might talk to a customer who's a dentist, and the customer says, actually, no, it's not important to me. Great, then I'm going to put a cross through that, and I'm not going to come back to it because I'm not going to have a conversation with you that doesn't add any value. But they might say, you know what, I'm really interested though in understanding the how we manage the lifespan of this equipment that's really expensive. And so there you might be having a conversation about some telemetry, for example. The key thing is to find out what your customer cares about and make sure that that's the stuff that you're talking on. Another one might be how do you collaborate? How do you do internal collaboration? And of course, that's a conversation that's going to lead you towards things like Teams, Slack, and similar products. And our opportunity is to say, well, how do you communicate? How do you share data securely with customers? The chances are you're going to find that someone set up a private Dropbox or Google Drive or whatever kind of shared account somewhere, and they're sharing data using private email addresses. What we want to do is make sure that we've got if it's important to the customer, that we've got a corporate solution set up for them that the customer can manage and maintain and put governance on even as their staff come and go. So if we find out that sharing content with a marketing company that's preparing ads and videos and messaging for them in a shared environment is important to them, let's frame it up in a proper solution and make sure the security is in place around that and that the data can be looked after properly if it's important. The trick is to find out what the customer cares about, to listen to them, to find out what their needs are, and then map your solutions against that using a library of solutions you've used before, or using a number of trusted partners that you can bring to bear to help you meet your customers' requirements. The trick, if you're a trusted advisor, is to be the person the customer comes to for advice.
I like that. All right. Is there anything else that you think is important for MSPs to consider when it comes to doing a discovery? Obviously, we got to find out what's important to the client, come up with a roadmap, deliver it to them, hold them accountable, and move forward on the roadmap. Are there any other steps or I'll call it a side quest that we should be considering?
So getKambium, we've done all that work for MSPs now. So we've got 140, 150 questions that MSP can choose from to ask a customer, and we've grouped those because you don't want to ask 150 questions at once. That can be quite overwhelming. So we've grouped those into various surveys. So we've done that work, putting that together for the MSP right now. Of course, they can change, modify, add to those questions if they wish, and regroup them in ways that make sense to them.
Mm-hmm.
But if the MSP just casts their minds back over their careers, say I go back to tape drives and zip disks and iOmegas, if you remember those, and all of that good and exciting stuff. There is a tremendous amount of change in our industry, and what we do today is not what we'll be doing in a year's time or in 2 years' time. And to say all we have to do is cast our minds back to some of the things. I've got a glass cabinet outside my office here full of the things that were really cool when they were new that are really obsolete now. As I say, zip disks are in there. those PCMI, remember PCMIA adapters for laptops and all of that stuff.
Oh my gosh, I forgot all about those.
So cool at the time. And we knew all that stuff. It doesn't matter now. It's just an historical artifact, and it's kind of interesting, but it's kind of in the past. Our opportunity is to understand what's in our customers' futures. And there are, every single day, there's new and exciting things for us to find out how they're relevant to meeting our customers' needs. And that stuff changes as stuff comes out. So ChatGPT has been with us for what, 8 weeks now? Really exciting, probably really early days. Where will that be in a year's time? We're seeing the prevalence of IoT devices, whether that's cameras or various sensors or whatever else that many of our customers find relevant, and they need those things to help them achieve their goals. We're seeing customers use big data because big data isn't as expensive as it used to be. You can now, anyone can now access big data solutions through SaaS. We're seeing customers trying to solve problems around managing their workforce, recruitment, retention, induction of staff. We're seeing them trying to collaborate quicker and faster with markets that are both local and far away, might be, or with suppliers. We're seeing people who, under the pandemic, went to work from home, and it's fantastic. You're working from home on shared computers or on office supplied ones. And we're seeing people slowly return to the office, but in ways they didn't do so beforehand. If we understand what our customers' changing needs are and how we can help them with that, then we're going to be successful. And whether we deliver that service directly ourselves or whether the gateway for it, the key to it is to be the trusted advisor to the client. And you can only do that if you understand what's important to your client. getKambium is a listening tool to help you discover what that is so you can upgrade your MSP. I think one of the ways to look at it is that we make our clients look good to their clients. And we do so because we help an MSP understand their client and deliver their services in a way that the client values it. You can do the best job you like of clearing out tickets, having a fantastic SLA, having a tremendous uptime, but the customer takes that for granted. What they care about is their goal this year, and are you helping them to achieve it? And if they see you as relevant to that, you're going to have the best time ever. But if they don't see you as relevant to that, if they just see you as a commodity supplier, then it's always going to be tough, and you're always going to find yourself under price pressure. If you can show the customer value, then you can do great things for your MSP and for your customer.
Well, guys, you should see the URL for getKambium right next to Andrew's name, getKambium, KAMBIUM.com, getKambium.com. Check it out. There is a free trial for the product. The pricing is right there on the website. You guys are very top notch putting your pricing on your website instead of a pricing page with a form to get the pricing, right? So I think I might implement one of those just out of spite.
Steve, it's been great to talk to you today. I've really enjoyed it. I've loved your questions. And I love talking to your community here. Guys, we have the best opportunity as MSPs. And say I still have an MSP a business, almost 30 years. We have the best opportunity we've ever had before. All we've got to do is make it relevant to our customers in a way that they appreciate. And the world's our oyster. A great time to be in our industry. And Steve, thanks for the opportunity.
My pleasure, man. Thanks so much for being a guest, and I will see you guys at the next episode. Take care.